just a couple really quick use cases. I know many of you in here are using Notion in far superior ways, and I encourage those of you to start making YouTube videos about this, because there really is very little information on how to use Notion well, and all the people who are new Notion YouTubers, they're all blowing up. So I encourage you to make more videos and show people how do you actually get into these programs. I know Harvey over here is...
So it looks like this might be a hot video. What we can see about that, if anyone can make a video that nobody watches, it has proven to be me. So what we have here is a video that covers the basics to advanced areas of Notion. Well, that's everything, isn't it? Basic to advanced. But a big picture view. So I'm not going to try and teach you every little thing. I'm just going to show the broad view of what it can do. And here and there, I'll go down to the low level and touch on actual demonstrations of certain things. So let's start with what Notion is. That's a bit of a tricky question, because what it is what you build it to be. So it's many different things to different people. And that's reflected in how it starts with a blank slate and just a simple tutorial to start you off. After that, they don't really take you much further. It's a classic conundrum of a complex and open-ended system. You sort of show how much it can do by starting with nothing at all. So what they probably want you to do is to sit down with it and dedicate a couple of hours to learning Notion on your own, just playing around with it. And that probably is a good way to go. Except I can understand as time pressures these days and so many other things in your life that you probably want to avoid just doing that and are wondering if there's a quicker way. Well, there are two options for you in that case. If you really do want to just dive in to see something that's working, they have now templates. So you can copy a template, you can search for a common scenario, common use case that is roughly what you want, copy that into your system, and then you can start playing with it. But I don't know about that. That feels a bit weird to me. It's like maybe buying IKEA furniture and then getting someone else to put it together. It's not the best analogy. No, I think Notion's probably a lot more pleasant. Yes, anyway. So I like putting things together myself. Now, there is another way you can go about doing this, which is what you're doing right now and watching this video. So just keep doing it and we'll get you there. On to the next stage, maybe without so much truck noise. So what is Notion to me? It's to help remind me of all the work I should be doing instead of making videos. I work for myself, so it is essentially for me a system of management for all my tasks and projects, and a collection point for important bits of information. I also use it for invoicing, and I will continue to use it for anything else I need to help manage my business and also my personal life more so, or coming more so as time goes on. So the tools of Notion take two main forms. First, you have pages. A page is maybe best described as like a web page. So it's a collection of different media, text, images, maps, all sorts of things, whatever you can typically put into a web page. As long as it's sort of simple web page, you can put it into a Notion page. You can have links, and you can arrange columns and nest columns inside columns and nest text inside the column. You can spend a fair bit of time arranging things on a page. Pages don't focus that much on formatting, so Notion as a whole has pulled back on the variety of formatting you can do. It's fairly simple. I like it because keeps the formatting consistent, and you don't spend too much time mucking around with different styles. But what you do spend time then, and what they have focused on more, is the layout and how you arrange the information on the page. Is quite powerful. The other main tool of Notion are databases. I assume you probably know what a database is, but just to get us all on the same page, a database is really just a collection of structured data. So every entry in a database, you can have a set of information which is consistent. And that's how they are in Notion too. So as you build a Notion database, you can add formatted columns of data to each entry. And you can take away a column too. You can design a database in Notion as you need it. You might have one database that needs 3 different date fields. So you can add 3 different date fields to your database. You might need a database that has 5 text fields. You can do that too. What are the types of fields you can have in a database? They're pretty wide-ranging. Let me just have a little check of my list here. Things like number fields, text fields, date fields, users, options, links, phone numbers, files, checkboxes, URLs, did I say that already? Formulas, and some other tricky little ones too, I'll get to in a minute. Now, one last thing about, or 2 last things, 2 more things about all these pages and databases inside Notion. One, databases can show up anywhere. So you can embed a database in a page, and pages can show up anywhere. So they can be embedded inside databases. And you can embed to your heart's content. You can have a page inside a database, which is inside another page, which is inside another database. That's not a problem. Now, the other helpful thing with databases is they can appear in multiple places. You can have a single database with all your information, and then you can have a view of that database from different locations. And in each view, you can filter and sort the database. Filtering and sorting of databases is one of the highlights of Notion. So you can have a database in one location which only shows you information to do with the last week. If there's, say, a date field, you can set it to only show anything which is less than 7 days old. You can have another database, or maybe even the same database, that has a different focus. It maybe focuses on everything which has been tagged with a blue color, or everything which has a number over 20 in the number field. There are many different ways you can sort and filter databases, and it really is one of the best features of Notion. So here's my setup of my home page. This is a page, and you can also put a few little window dressings on your page, and you can have different types of text. And then I've arranged inside my home page a few databases, except these databases are just views of much bigger databases elsewhere. Here I even have a database which has been stored, viewed twice in 2 different ways on the same page. I have a column here in the middle which I can slide around. I'll get to pages. Well, I'm not going to focus on pages that much. Let's just talk about databases. As a quick side note, I'm pretty heavy on databases. I find them useful for the work I do. For other people, pages are going to be a lot more important. Just letting you know. So this database is showing me just a limited set of my full-size database. Let's click on here and we'll get to the full-size database. Well, we can click there, or we can click over in the menu. This database I've named Data. It's a little bit confusing. As a side note, this is all my Evernote notes. Well, not all of my Evernote notes. I decided not to import all of them. So Notion does give you the option to import Evernote into Notion, and you select what parts of Evernote you want to bring in. I decided not to bring in all of Evernote. I just tidied up some areas and then brought those in and left a lot behind. I decided it was a good chance to start fresh. So everything that was in Evernote that I wanted to bring in, I brought into this one particular database here. In a sense, this is what Evernote has become for me now. It's a pity. I did like Evernote, but I like Notion better. I do like the notes. I like handwriting notes, and it's very quick. Evernote for that. Notion's a bit slow still. It's a tough one. So this is my database. You can see here I've created many different columns of a way to sort out every bit of data that I want to put in here. And it allows me to slice and dice it in many different ways. So I can go to a Kanban view here and show all the data as it's organized via this tag here called data type. And here we have a nice way to view everything at once. These little cards, you can change what you see in there, whether you see just a picture or the contents of the bit of data. And it allows me to also sort everything or even filter out whatever's in here. But this is everything, so I want to show all of this together. And if I want to sort it by a different way, I can do this area of interest. And these are the different areas of my life. So let's just go back to the main table. And you can see, some of the different columns. If I wanted to add a new one at any time, I can simply, there might be one there, property, see? That has been added by accident, I think. And that's a text form. You can change it to different types here. But I don't need that one, so I'm going to delete it straight away. And hit delete. A couple of these columns are more interesting than the others. For instance, here, this column, this is what Notion calls a relational database column. And it's a way of linking two databases together. I decided for all of my bits of data here, my information, I wanted a way to connect each of these to a particular project. And that's done via what Notion calls a relational database link. So here I can click on, I'll just remove that. So here I can click on this empty box and pick, here's the one for this YouTube channel. And now this piece of data will be linked to that project. And that can be quite handy because later on a particular project, I can then look up every piece of data that I have to do with that project. Now it goes deeper than that. However, I will show you some of those things in a much more interesting database called tasks. So my tasks database here is big. And I have a philosophy on task management and project management and all that sort of thing, which I might share in a separate video. But for now, let's just look at how it has turned into this database in Notion. Yes, so let's look at the nuts and bolts. We have many different columns here, many different checkboxes and number columns, but I want to show you to this relational database again. Each task that I have is related to a project. That's how I've managed all of these. And so every single task is an aid of a project, and it makes sense for me to link them together. So this particular one here, I can just remove that for a minute and show you if I wanted to add a project to this particular task, I can come in here and that one is a TDL one. I can get a shortcut to just those, and That one is website edit, say. So now we have linked a project to a task. That's what they call a relational database. Now it's more interesting than that, and I'll show you that via a couple of other things first. Here for this task, I've assigned a time of how long I think it'll take me to do that work, time taken. But I also want to assign an hourly rate so I can eventually calculate a fee. Now this hourly rate would normally be probably associated with a project. So I don't necessarily want to assign an hourly rate for every individual task, but maybe grab the hourly rate. Let's just move this. I can move these around really simply. Right up to there. Let's move the time taken. I move these around up to there. And not fixed fee. Where's the other one? Fees. Let's move that up to here. So yes, this task has an hourly rate, but I don't want to set an hourly rate for every individual task when it's most likely to do with the project. So this is a very nice feature that Notion lets us do, is have what they call a roll-up, where we can reach into one of the databases that we've related to here. So this is the projects database. And I can say to this, reach into that one, look in that project, grab the hourly rate, and pop it here. So that's what it's doing, and I've done it, told it to show the original. You can even get it to do other things like count how many times it appears, or take an average, or whatever. This time I just want to show the original. And I'll show you how that appears in this one. Let's just go to that particular project really quickly. So here's a project data entry. And we can see here I've put down an hourly rate of $70. So that here is then heading over and being used in my tasks database. That's the same number being pulled from the project database. Then that brings me nicely to a formula. So obviously it would be nice then to use the hourly rate and the time taken to calculate the fee expense, because eventually this will end up in my invoice. So here we have a formula, and it's quite a tricky one because it's also testing to see if it's a fixed fee or not. This is sort of quite a good example. I have over here a fixed fee number, and I've gone a long way around it. I could actually do it shorter. There's a fixed fee checkbox. You could actually test if this box is empty or not. I might do that. We end up with an hourly rate, $70. We have taken 60 minutes, which is 1 hour. Therefore, we charge $70 for this particular task. There you go. Now, it's worth noting that once we have gone to the trouble of all this, these columns are all sortable and filterable. So if I wanted to, I can create a new view of this database by just going add a view and show only fees which are more than $200. Or I can, in fact, very quickly, if I wanted to, I can just sort. Let's do that right now. Add a sort. I'll do by fees, and I'll do ascending. Move that to the top of the sorts, and now we have fees ascending. So start with all the ones which are worth nothing and gradually ramp up to the ones which are worth a lot. And if you don't want that anymore, I can just delete that. So that's a sort of an easy formula. Let's have a look at a much more complicated formula. This priority one over here. Look at that. I decided I wanted to organize my tasks via a priority parameter, but I didn't want to just set the priority directly myself because I would always set that incorrectly by prioritizing the things I wanted to do most at the top and the things I didn't like doing at the bottom, which is not the right way to do things. So in order to help trick myself, I've created this system which will take some of my biases out of it and hopefully help decide for me what should be the most important work to do. And you can see here, it can get quite complicated. This is a series of nested if statements that check for various things to see if the project is active and whether the work has been done yet or not, and what sort of hourly rate, whether the due date is coming up soon, lots of different little things, and also a sort of urgency number I've assigned it, which is vaguely my way of controlling it, but it also doesn't account for the entire quantity. And that then gives me a very nice way to quickly prioritize my tasks in other views. So if I go back to my home page, here I have just the most high priority tasks in my little view on my front here, according to this, which I've filtered. If you look at the filter, priority greater than 0. And that then just shows just those tasks. You can also hide different properties. So I'm not showing all the properties here, just the ones which I think are relevant for this view. Now I can tell you're probably interested in seeing the invoicing stuff, because as we saw in the tasks, it's a nice one to work on this one again. We have a task here which the main point is that we have this fee here. Eventually this task will get included on an invoice. Let's have a look at those. Just open up one of these. So here is an invoice of mine for this client, and I'm using again more relational databases. So I'm linking this invoice database to a particular client. I'm also linking it to particular projects. So I know these projects are important to this invoice. And then different bits of information like the client address is being pulled from the client database. So I don't have to enter it here, it's getting pulled in. Every time you see a magnifying glass, you know that's being pulled from one of these databases. I have some numbers there, when it's due, if it's paid or not. I have the messages there, and then down here I have the nice piece of magic, which is a little view of my tasks database. In here I've heavily filtered the view. I've also locked this page. You can unlock a page, so every time you don't want something to change, you can lock it. But I had to unlock it. Now I can see the filters I've used. This one here is for just this client, and the tasks are to be invoiced, and the tasks have to be done, and the tasks have to be after a certain date and before a certain date. If they meet all these criteria, then they get to show up here. And here they are. Now, one final feature which is quite handy is at the bottom of every single table there is a little hidden, you don't normally see it, but if you hover, a little hidden thing here where we can do sums, or well, we could do all these different things. Count where there's a value, count unique values, percent not empty, sums, average, median, min, max, range. So I might want to sum all of the minutes spent on this these tasks in this invoice, and comes to 600 minutes. And also here I'm summing the fees. So these are all the fees which have been brought in as we worked out, calculated using the formula, edit formula here, that formula there. And then they're all summed down here. So I can then use that to help figure out what number to put up here. there you have it. In here, this formula, I decided that I might make use of a feature which I didn't know when I first wrote this formula. So I don't need the fixed fee if thing anymore, that column that has a checkbox, this one here. All I need to do is test to see if this one is empty or not. Let's replace that checkbox, which is essentially this property here. It just returns true if it's checked and false if it's not checked, with a is empty, which is down here somewhere. I think tests if a value is empty. I think that's the one I want. So we'll pop that in there, empty. Now we need to say it's a particular property, and that property is going to be the fixed fee column. So we come down here and find not the checkbox, but this one, the number. That means number. So if that one is empty, I think it returns true. Test if a value is empty. I'm just double checking. So if it's true, if it's empty, so then this if statement after the comma, this here is the true, in which case that is the fixed fee property, I think. So basically, yes, it says if empty, we want to do the other one first. So we need to move the order around. I'm going to cut that from there. So if it's empty, we want to take the time taken. I'll just walk you through this. We're going to round this number, so it's a normal number of minutes. Or hour. Yeah, is it? Geez, round. It rounds it to the nearest dollar. I think that's what it's for. It's going to round it to the nearest dollar. And that takes a round of this thing here, which is time taken minutes, which is that property of time. We divide that by 0.6. I wonder why I did it that way for. Anyway, I do know it works. This is where you have to get Excel out and just, or a piece of paper and write down those different things. Some of these properties here are not treated as numbers in calculations. So this hourly rate here, for some reason, is not treated as a number, but you can force it to be a number by saying to number, and then whatever's in here, it'll turn it to a number. So it can have math operations on it, which we are doing. 0.6 divided by 1. Anyway, apparently that works. We have to keep track of the brackets. Let's just go back and keep track of brackets. This is really tricky in here. What Notion could do is have little highlighting brackets so you can tell where we're up to. So it's 1 open, 2 open, 3 open, 2 open, 3 open, 4 open, 5 open, 4 open, 3 open, 4 open, 5 open, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is not easy. I think I want to put that in there. Shall I show you what I'll do when it's not easy, like this? Let's do that. We select all that, copy, we go to a proper file editing system for this. We go a new thing here, we press on there, and now we can format this to be neat and tidy. If this is true, then we do all this. Just keeping track of so this highlights for us the different things. So I want to get to the round property there, so that's that one. And that's all divided by 100. Property fixed fee. Why is that not working for me? I've got one too many, have I? What's going on? I need another one here for that. So that's better. Close that one straight away. Then we have the round property for all that, and then we divide that number by 100. And then here is what we do if it is false. And now we need one more close bracket for the end of the if statement. There we go. So now we know that should all work because we have our brackets all lining up. And we can have, so these little highlighting brackets, we should have that in Notion. Make it much easier to know what's going on and where your error is. So copy all that back, come into here, copy all that back, probably even odd. What's going on? That is very odd. Sheesh. What I'm going to do is take all this, copy it there, and madly remove spaces so all I'm on line, and copy that back into here. Select all, delete, paste. That's better. Done. So let's just check. Let's just test it over here. We've got an hourly rate fixed and the fees there. Let's say I put a fixed fee in here of $10, and now the fee is there is $10. Now let's say I delete that, and it goes back to 70 again. So that's working. So I don't need to have this column anymore. So the fewer columns I can get away with, the better. So I'll just delete that whole column. I'm not sure that's what I want to delete, I'm pretty sure. There we have it. I hope that whets your appetite for what can be done. I think it's pretty cool. If you have any questions and want to find out anything more about any of this detail, please write it in the comments below. I'm more than happy to help. Even if you want help setting up something like this for yourself, I am happy to help with that too. Depending. Well, you can always hire me. Okay. Gee, that's enough talking. I'll be back again sometime soon with more Notion stuff if that's what you want, and also with more 3D watch printing work coming up. Till then, take it easy. Thank you. Bye. Au revoir. Wiedersehen. Konnichiwa. Oh. Oh. Never mind. What's the word for Japanese when you want to see somebody again? Okay. That's it. That's it for me. I'm done. I'm out. I'm done.
There's an enormous opportunity right now. There's a vacuum, a powerful vacuum, for thought leadership around Notion and the whole no-code movement. I mean, it's rare that you can see the next paradigm coming from so far away. It's like this green grass, this
Now is the time.
beautiful pasture of opportunity.
Hot diggity dog.
I'd really step into it. And tag me on Twitter and I'll retweet it. Thank you so much.
Try.